Hello. That is odd. We've got. Okay. We're on. Quite strange. Wenlock TVDX is here anyway. Yeah. Odd. I can't see it's not showing any video on my monitor. So I wasn't sure if it's getting out or not. How are we all doing? Hope you're keeping well out there. Alright, we're getting out anyway. Why isn't the monitor working? That is weird. Not to worry, doesn't matter. We'll party on with it. We have Wenlock TVDX watching from Australia, if I'm not mistaken. White Sapphire is here too. Far 64 is here. And yeah, looking good. Looking good. Great to have you in the chat, lads. Now, I need to get myself a refreshment before I get all into it. All the woes and tribulations, the ups and downs and the rough and tumble of the television, vintage electronics world, which we've been suffering. We have been suffering. It's breakfast time in Wenlock land. Very good. Yes, nothing but problems here, I'm afraid. Well, first thing we sort of knew was going to happen anyway. The line output transformer's gone into McMichael. So we have a replacement for it. It's just digging it out is going to be an issue. So I'll put him to one side for a few weeks. We're working on some other stuff. Let's see, we have 6 watching with yeah, okay. 9 watching, a few more come in now in a minute. Another off the cuff live stream on a Tuesday night just because I have a little bit of time and talk through a few things that's going on here in the workshop. Patrick Bourne is there as well. Good evening, Patrick. Let's see who else we'll get in. I hope you're all keeping well. Needed that. That's a little bit better now. We've got 10 watching with 3 thumbs up. That's not a bad start. That's not a bad start at all. Yeah. Gary Broadbent. Good evening, Gary. How are you keeping? Rainy St. Albans. And yeah, it's pretty rainy here too. Yeah, it's been raining on and off here all day. It's not great. Quite cold out actually for this time of year. 5-6 degrees. Then around that mark. So yeah, it's fresh enough. It's been cold all day. I didn't get much above 6 all day actually. Patrick Bourne says, hi Odge, it's the birthday. I take it it's your birthday, Patrick, and if so, a very happy birthday to you, Patrick. Many happy returns to you. Indeed. Do, if you're watching, participate in the live stream. It's always good when you're in the chat. Wenlock says it's 21 degrees here. Lovely. Of course, it's autumn time there. Spring here and autumn there. Strange, isn't it? Lovely. 21 degrees would be just nice now. Yeah, I could go in for a bit of that. It is Patrick's birthday. It's a game ball, Pat. Happy birthday to you. We'll see how many or not many we get in the chat tonight, but as I say, it was an off the cuff one. Yeah, electric heater on tonight. Do a little bit of work on my diesel heater at the minute, so I'm back to the electric. It's not that warm either. You're better off having a glass of whiskey tonight now. It's not just that warm. So as I say, Andy Cowley is here as well. Good evening, Andy. I'm saying line up with Transformers gone to McMichael. We have a replacement for it. But we'll have to dig the replacement out. Which is no great hardship. We'll get that dug out the next week or two and get back at it. But I might take it off the bench. There's a few other things I'd like to look at. Panasonic EasyPhone 616 has also failed me. That's giving me a bit of hassle as well. So I'm thinking of passing that on to someone who knows a bit more about telephones than me. We did get into it. We found a couple of little problems which we rectified, but we're still not getting ball. So we have that to deal with. That's a bit of a knockback because you were looking forward to getting our old phones working here. Yeah, that's about it. There's a wasp flying around here now as well, which isn't great. We'll just trap him under something. What have we got that I'm going to put over him? Come here. Wild excitement here. Now, that's him safely trapped and curtailed for now. I'll deal with you later. Right. Who else have we got here? We've Rob's radio channel as well, who apologises for being late, even though I'm only on 2 minutes or so. See, we've 11 watching with 8 thumbs up. That's a good start, actually, for here. That's a very good start. Is anyone having a problem with YouTube freezing? Am I getting out okay? I've just had a report here on the phone. YouTube app is freezing. My account, why my screen is blank. Oh, freezing here, okay. It appears some people are having difficulty with YouTube tonight. Well, that's good. No one seems to be having any trouble here in the live stream anyway. It's a good start. I'm not too bad, thanks. Far as I say, a few knockbacks. Line up with Transformer went in the McMichael, which we expected. But yeah, And the telephone system, which I featured in the last live stream, has also failed. So that's another issue. But other than that, life is pretty good. Can't complain. Yeah, there's always something, isn't there? Overall, things are going quite well though. Busy, hard to get a minute, but we're getting there. We are looking forward to the Retro Tech event, which I suppose could be the first poll of the evening. Indeed, the clocks do go forward, which is good as well. Poll time. We'll leave that up for a few minutes. See who's going, who's not going. Vote early and vote often if you can. So, who else have we got here in the chat tonight? Well, it looks like nobody's going to the MVCF at the minute. Indeed, the clocks do go forward at the weekend. That's great. Because, that's badly needed. Get rid of those dark evenings. It's super. Please don't be mean to the little wasps. Well, I wasn't mean to the little wasp. That's why you didn't squish it. That's why he's in his little box there and put him out of the shed after the live stream. Access area. Am I going to the Goblin? I will be attending the Goblin in October. Or that is the plan anyway. So yeah, we do hope to get to the Galborn event this October. A bit of a while to go, yeah. What's October? 6 months away? Thereabouts. So yeah, wouldn't mind going, but my derelict shell struggles to get started in the morning. Plus, I have too much else to attend to right now. Who said retirement meant peace and quiet? I think you really should make an effort to go, White Sapphire, if you can. It's well worth attending. Have you attended any of these events before? Yeah, no, it's well worth going if you can. But yeah, I do hope to go to the Galborn. All being well, we'll get to the Galborn and see what's happening over there. A small show, but a nice show. I like the Goulburn, I must say. Hmm. Now, let me get back into the chat there. I am sorry, I'm getting messages here which I have to look at too at the same time. Uh, Rob's Radio Channel, that's good, Audrey. I still have to get you €100 towards channel. Please don't do that, Rob. There's absolutely no need to give that kind of money to me. And I'd rather you didn't. Thanks very much, though, for the offer. Access Area 6, what are your thoughts on long wave radio ending? Yeah, I'll tell you what my thoughts are. My thoughts are it's a very bad idea. Yeah, it's getting a bit sad on long wave. We still have Algeria on 252, and we have some good music programs on the evening if you're in a position to get it. We have Poland on 225, which is also a fairly decent signal here in the evenings. But overall, it's a bad news story. I mean, we lost RTE last year, which was a travesty, and then they blew up the mast, which was even worse. And to think the Radio 4 going up, Radio 4 in long wave is a beautiful signal here where I am, absolutely smashing. And what's worse is the medium wave Radio 4 relay is closing down at the end of next month. Is that right? I listen to Radio 4 on medium wave on 720 from the Belfast transmitter in the van because it doesn't have long wave. And again, that's a really good signal around these parts as well, and that will be sadly missed when it goes. So yeah, no, overall it's a bad news story. I mean, I know they're strapped for cash and saving money and all this jazz, but they could probably save it elsewhere. But then again, people like me and you are in the minority. Are that many people listening to Radio 4 on medium wave? And the general consumption of Radio 4, is it on medium wave and long wave? Probably not. I'd like to have a proper breakdown of the figures of what percentage of people are using the AM bands to get their Radio 4 input. But I'd imagine it's fairly small now at this stage. I mean, if you're in the UK, it's relayed on FM and it's very good. So yeah, I'd imagine gobbers with all radios like ourselves, and you know, maybe a few people in the Outer Hebrides or that don't have the FM, probably rely on the long wave service, but they're not going to keep it on for the few. Rob says I can get Radio 4 on FM where I live. Yeah, I can get it here too, actually. Not great just where I am, but out and about it does. Depends where you are. If you're up high in a hill like Robert is, you'll definitely get Radio 4. You get all the BBC stations from the north. No issue at all. But yeah, no, I think it's Access Area 6. I think it's a bad day out. Very bad day out, actually. There we are. It's not good. So far in the voting, it looks like 2 people are going to Retrotech. And that's it. I thought more people here would have been going to Retrotech. Do give me your reasons for not going. Obviously, Wenlock TVDX is going to struggle to go. because he is in Australia. Patrick Bourne is in Ireland here. He's probably not going to go. But yeah. Joe King is gone. Of course he is. Good man, Joe. Great to see you in the chat. That was tricks. Hope you're keeping well, pal. Yes, indeed, Joe. What is to be done with all these medium wave transmitters going off the air? What can be done, Joe? As an aside, our friendly local pirate in Dublin, or medium wave, I have not heard on the air in quite some time. Now, either that's conditions aren't good and it's not just getting to me, or he's having some issue there. DAB radio, the plug should be pulled on that DAB radio. They should cancel the DAB and put the money into keeping the medium wave going. But too different for me to get to, I'm afraid. That's fair enough. Yes. His antenna came down the last storm. Ah, there. Hopefully he gets back on air soon, Joe. With a bit of luck, he'll get back on air. Yeah, looking forward to the old Retro Tech this year. Should be a bit of crack. Also, yeah, planning something for October, but in the very early stages, so I can't say much. But for people in the UK, it might be of interest. But there'll be more details on it later in the year. But if all goes well, there should be a bit of an event in October for people who are interested. Needs to climb the tree when the weather improves. I see. Okay, Joe. Just as an aside, Joe, which might be something that might interest him. I was down with an amateur radio fella in Athlone a couple of years ago, whose house backed onto the bypass around Athlone, the motorway that goes around Athlone. And at the back there was big, I don't know if they were beech trees or what they were, but they were real tall, you know, they were up 60, 80 foot. Real good high trees that had been planted along the motorway when they built it. And he had a loop for top band hanging up in the trees. And I said to him, how did you get the wires up in the trees? He says, oh, it was easy. You got a friend of his with a drone, has a heavy drone, and they tied a little rope onto it and flew the drone up and looped the drone around the trees, brought the wire down, then the rope down, then they were able to tie the aerial wire to the rope, which the aerial up. So if he doesn't want to climb the tree, but he knows someone with a drone, you might be able to do something like that. Access Area 6 says, find a nice Ferguson TX10 to repair. Well, funny enough, the TX10 is something I never had anything to do. Excuse me. The TX10 is a set I never had anything to do with, funny enough. Never dealt with a TX10. The TX9s are alright. And TX90s, and I think there's a TX95 floating around here somewhere as well. TX90s and 95s never gave me an ounce of grief. Joe says he did that using fishing line on the drone. Ah, yeah, you see, yeah, bit of a trick. Yeah, there's always options. I wouldn't be too keen on going up a tree, although I would do it alright. But yeah, oh well. The best of luck to him. Hopefully he gets back on the air soon and we can be listening to him here again some night. Bit of crack that night when we had him on here. But, indeed. So Retro Tech should be a bit of crack. All being well. We'll buy things we don't need and whatnot. But it appears that you and me are probably the only ones going here from tonight's it turns out that we're the only two going. Anyway, not to worry. Labs Radio turns I'm following another shortwave YouTube channel. He set up Zoom meeting last Saturday, tuning around shortwave all the way from America. All America try to save AM radio. What's the story on the meet and greet? The meet and greet is we've nothing finalised on that yet, Joe. We've nothing finalised on that, but we hope to do something. We do hope to do something. We might have actually just talking about meet and greets at the MVCF. We might do for anyone that's interested, a Nodge meet and greet. There's a vote. Well, there's no point putting this out here because you and me are the only ones going, Joe. I'm sure you won't mind having a meet and greet with me, but we'll put it out there to the chat. And anyway, 85% of people in America are still listening to AM radio. Well, believe it. There you go. A bit of a pointless poll because Joe King's the only one that's going to answer yes because he's the only one going. Other than myself, and I will have to attend. People might make a meet and greet if they were going, but they're not going. So who knows? We might say 2 o'clock at the foyer for a 10-minute meet and greet with your YouTube hero. Who knows? We'll see. No point out because I'll forget. Right. I would if I were there. Maybe you will be there. You never know. You might make the effort. You might get there. Yeah, wait. That is Brom Adams here. I wonder if George Stiffy will be there too. I think George will be there. He usually is in attendance, so I'd be surprised. I'd be no, tongue twisted. I would be very surprised, Brom, if George wasn't at the MBCF. To be honest, he makes the effort most years. Big day out for the Transistor Radio gang. There's all these different gangs in attendance at the MVCF. It's quite funny. It reminds me of that film. where the gang is running through New York at night, going through all the different ganglands. So you've got the transistor radio gang, you've got the vintage television gang, you've got the color vintage television gang, you've got the amateur radio vintage gang, you've got the Valve radio vintage gang, you've got the wind-up gramophone gang, although they are dying off quite quickly at the minute. But yeah, it's funny. All the different people with all the different interests. And then the up-and-comers are the retro gang. Rob's radio channel inquires, Odge, where would I buy a 15-volt battery for my Evo? Right, here's what you do, Rob. Don't buy a 15-volt battery for your Evo. I'll show you exactly what you need to do. And this will be self-explanatory. Okay? Now, funny enough, tonight I can't see my monitor. However, so I hope it's not self-explanatory. You might get an idea though. All right, here's what you do. Where are right? Let me see. I want to show you something, and I haven't got it to hand to show you. I had it a minute ago. So where is it? Right, hold on for a second. What you need to do is, do not under any circumstances go on eBay or whatever and buy yourself a 15-volt battery for your Evo. You will be wasting your money because they're shit. What I'm going to tell you to do will mean you will never ever need to replace your battery ever again. Go into Lidl or Aldi, you get a pack of lithium batteries. What you want to do is you want to get 5 of the 2032 lithium cells, which are 3 volts each. 5 multiplied by 3 is 15. What you then do is you wrap them up. I'm going to look at the screen here so I know you can see it on my phone here, so I can see it right. You see what I've done here? You get your 5 coin cell lithiums, you wrap them up with a load of tape like that, with a red wire on the positive and a black wire on the negative, and then wrap it around the poles. That's how you replace your 15-volt battery in your Evo meter. The lithium cells are so stable that you will very rarely ever have to go near the 0 knob on your meter again, which is good. And they also last a very long time because the current draw is so minimal. So this one here, this meter, I bought at the NVCF by prior arrangement of another chap. I bought 2 of them to make one good one out of them, and that was 2016. Label it, and I made up that battery when I came home, stuck it in, and it's been like that since. 2016 is now 8 years ago. I don't expect to ever replace that set of batteries. So that's what you do, because the 15-volt batteries that you get, they're a load of alkaline button cells in a little stack. Alkaline button cells are shit, and they don't last piss time. And they charge mad money for them. The Valve amplifier gang too. Oh yes, them lads. Yes. I'll watch out for them. It's the row on the car park at the end of the day that I can't get over. So that's how you do it. So another one, just to prove the point, of my very old meter here. Well, it's no older than the rest of them really, but this one, my good dear friend John gave me years ago in the shop. And it also takes a 15 volts. This is a very rare meter actually. This is an Evo meter 10, which was a single knob answer to the Evo 8. But funny enough, it never caught on, and they only exported them. So I believe they exported them, sold them in Australia, New Zealand, all them kind of places. But very few were sold in the UK, and they're very thin on the ground now. And they're far more ergonomic, actually, than the Evo 8 to use. And I used this for many years, but because it's so rare, I kind of put it down to one side because I was afraid it'd get damaged. It has a few war battle scars on it, war wounds, but very good meter. But anyway, when I bought this, or got given this by John, it too had an issue with the 15-volt battery, and that's the exact same thing I did there. See, I put the coin cells in, and I stacked them with a load of 2-cent coins to pack it out. And I don't like to think how long that's in there like that. Probably 20 years. And it's auto perfect. So we've no issue there. Reel to reel guys going too. They're weirdos. You don't want to be hanging around with them lads. So that's it, Rob. I hope that works out for you. Try that. It's a cheap solution. And as I say, you won't need to change your battery again. Far better option. And Rob, stay away from reel to reel fellas. They're a bit dodgy. Bro Adam has never seen an Evo 10. Interesting. There you go. That's an odd one. And funny enough, I put that into the UK Vintage Radio's Evo meter survey years ago, and I didn't get one response. Isn't that strange? Yeah. And there you are. But a rare machine. Much another rare-ish machine, although there's a few of them around. I've had a couple through here over the years, and I've sold them to classic car guys. This is the Evo 12. Some people will be familiar with, some people maybe not so much. So this is the automotive answer to the Evo 8. Very low impedance movement, so you don't get ghost readings when you're checking for high resistance in headlamp connections and stuff like that. Yeah, so another important meter, and that's one that gets quite a bit of use with me actually. There was a Braille Model 7 too. I had heard of the Braille Model R line, which is a bit of an odd one, but yeah. The Radio Cruncher gave you an Evo meter and you want to make use of it. Well, that's my answer to you there, Rob. Get yourself a good quality alkaline 1.5 volt D battery and make up your 15 volt battery with a load of them coin cells, and you'll never look back. You'll be laughing. And don't drop it. Do you know what mark it is? So mine, the one I showed you there is a Mark 5, which are some would argue they're not that great, others would. I have to say I find the Mark 5 handy. This one here, slightly older one. This is a Mark. This is a Mark 3, I think. Yeah, Mark 3 Evo, which was kindly given a while ago actually by a fellow radio collector, a chap called Bernard, who was having a bit of a clear out and offered me some stuff. He offered me a lot of television valves. He used to collect televisions, but he got away from the television collecting, and he gave me a stock of valves that he had, which we were very glad to receive. Very kind of him. Very nice man. Joe King knows him. Well known and regarded radio and television collector here in Ireland is our Bernard, who will no doubt be attending the MVCF. He's a stalwart there for many years. Anyway, he gave me this lovely Evo 8, which is an ex-Post and Telegraph one, although they've scraped out the P&T on it for obvious reasons. Yeah, and I think this is working. I can't remember now, but I seem to recall this is all right, as far as I remember. And she's week 10, 1964. Look at that. So she's an early Mark 3 too. Indeed. Now, let me get back into the chat. White Sapphire says, what about the audio fields in their pre-stressed and polarized oxygen? They don't really attend the MVCF. Trying to get out of the box. Oh, well, let us know. Brum Adams says, I have one of those Avo EA 113 meters in original box. It's a blue one. Now, that's a meter I'd love to get my hands on. Yeah, they look really interesting, all right, Mr. Adam. Maybe one day I'll come across one. But to be fair to you, I have to, of course, well, it's very fair here. They are worth a few quid because apparently, the way the Avo valve testers are now worth a fortune, which is kind of bollocksology because one valve tester is the same as any other. Or at least they should give the same readings if they're working right. Much the same as any multimeter is the same as any other. 10 volts is 10 volts. A gain of 0.3 mu or whatever should be the same on any. Anyway, you understand what I'm getting at. Apparently, in the setup procedure for those, they quote in the manual the EA113 multimeter. Now, for any of those of you who are watching that don't know what the EA113 is, it's basically an electronic multimeter that has I don't know if it's flat across the board, but I know it has at least an input impedance of 1 meg. So it's comparable to a digital multimeter. But anyway, they quote the use of this meter in the setup of the valve tester. So for that reason and that reason alone, the EA113 can make quite a few quid. So it just goes to show little these people know because, just use a fluke meter or whatever. Or any valve tube voltmeter would do. Avo only quoted the EA113 because it was their product that they were using for their product. They weren't going to say they weren't going to sell you an Avo valve tester and then say in the manual, use a Taylor valve voltmeter to adjust. But yeah, absolute nonsense, and people get caught up in bullshit. Just goes to show how little bit they know. A signal is a signal. Got no time for audio fields. Thank you. If you keep your eyes open, you'll pick one up. I bought it off eBay a while back, and it wasn't stupidly expensive. I don't know. I didn't know about the valve tester angle. Not many people do, except the gobbers that are paying the big money for them. Averweight Mark 6. So it's the one after the Mark 8. So if I'm not mistaken, Rob, I could be mistaken. It wouldn't be the first time. Your meter is the exact same layout as that one, same knobs as that, but it's missing these two top terminals for the 3 kilovolt AC and DC ranges. If am I right? You will tell me quick enough, I'm sure. But yeah, a good meter, much the same as the 5 actually. The one to watch out for if you're buying an Avo is the Mark 7, which was the last Mark that was produced. An awful lot of issues with open circuit movements. Now, here's one for Rob and for anyone who's thinking of buying an Avo meter. So let's just say well, no one's going to the MVCF, but let's just say you were at a radio show or something. And there's an Avo meter on the bench there on a stall, and he's got £2 on it or whatever, right? And you think, how do I know it's all right? Well, there's a very easy test to do. So you pick up the meter and you watch the pointer, and that is called a pointer. It's not called a needle, right? Because it points. Anyway, watch the pointer, get the meter, do this, right? With the two knobs set to AC and DC like that, right? And the needle should wave wildly around quite a bit, right? Then you switch it to off, which damps the movement and puts a short across the movement for transit, because you don't want that waving around the back of a car, right? And then do it again, and it should be much slower in its operation. Now, I don't know if that'll show up in the camera with latency and stuff, so like that, Pointer moves around a bit, good bit. Switch it off. Pointer doesn't wave around as much, and that tells you straight away that the movement is okay, and that the chain between the movement, all the resistors and everything's okay. So that's a good start. After that, anything can be repaired. But if you pick one of these up and the pointer moves wildly around from end to end, walk away. Put it back down, walk away. Doesn't matter how clean it looks, because all it needs is to be dropped. Could be new old stock, but if that pointer waggles around, it's a scrapper. So all these are good points. No, Mr. Tranfield does not like Avo meters at all. And he had a childhood experience with Avo meters, which he'll surely tell you himself in his own channel. I won't spoil it for you. But indeed, what am I number? Mouse. Yes, the little mouse. White Sapphire has an 8 Mark 5. Brum says, good advice, Arjun. I wouldn't ask Michael Tranfield. Oh yeah, that's right. No, don't ask young Michael. Mine move around on AC and DC, and when I set it off, doesn't move around as much. That's all great news, Rob. I'd say you're onto a winner. To be fair, I don't think Graham would send you a bad one anyway. So he'd say he probably checked it all out before he sent it over to you. But it does go to show that it hasn't had much of a knock on the post, so it should be okay. The electron brushing during the pressed stress phrase takes care of the audio fills is nonsense. I mean, audio foolery is unbelievable. I was watching this thing come up there a couple of weeks ago in Japan, an audio foil in Japan who paid the electricity board to run a separate wire to his house from the substation because he didn't want noise on his line coming into the house. Mad fucking carry on. But yeah, you'd wonder, Arlie. Strange. What people are willing to spend money on, you know. But it's all marketing, you know. Marketing works. Well, there wouldn't be so many people that are very wealthy out doing marketing. So that is the Avos. What else to tell you about an Avo? The earlier ones, to do that test, is only working a Mark 5 or later. The earlier ones don't have such a function to damp the meter. So what you do in that case is you get the two probes if they're available, or a piece of wire, and short out the two poles with the piece of wire and set it to DC on the lowest current range, which is 50 microamps, which is directly across the movement. And you should have the same effect there. It should be heavily damped. And if that's the case, you're in business. Can you check caps in circuit on an Avo meter? Well, it depends. It depends what you're working on. The answer is yes and no. Right? The answer is it depends. Right, so say in a valve radio, for instance, where you're checking wax caps, which you know are going to be bad anyway, but I don't know, let's say they're of a type that aren't always bad. Yes, you set to the highest range, any sort of leakage at all, cap is suspect. You can check electrolytics to a point in circuit. Depending on what kind of circuit it is and whatever, you kind of have to be a little bit careful. But setting your Avo meter to the second highest ohms range and going across an electrolytic cap, needle should move pretty quickly up and then go up and then pretty quickly come down. to 0 as the electrolytic cap charges up. Electrolytic cap that doesn't move the needle isn't charging up its open circuit. One that goes hard over is short circuit. So yeah, you can check caps to a point, but there's caveats with that. Brum says 70 quid for a beeswax fuse. Here's a quote. Apparently my beeswax fuses will take a whole month to burn in. Is there any way to speed up the process? Oh, sweet Jesus. Oh, stop. I don't want to hear it anymore. Discharge them with your tongue first. Well, that is, yes, you should. I suppose, again, caveats, if you're going into a power supply, you want to make sure they're discharged first. Very good, George. Yes. Access area 6s don't like to test caps in circuit. Could be picking up something else as well. Well, that's it. And that's what it says. It depends on the circuit and where they are and what they're doing. So you have to watch it. So that's it. Caveats. That's why I said caveats. But yeah, you can use your Avo for checking caps to a point. So how is George? If George, your name came up in dispatches there just a couple of minutes ago because people were wondering if you were going to attend the RetroTax / NVCF fair this year. I said you probably will. You rarely miss it. So I imagine you will be going, but you will be able to confirm for all your fans here. I will be at RetroTech. What more can we say? And I look forward to seeing you there, George. I do. Meet and greet for fans of Odgenodge at the foyer at 2 p.m. sharp. Caps don't always be bad. They certainly don't. As I say, it depends what kind of caps they are, where they are, and other caveats. There's no hard and fast rule. George will be at the Goblin next week. I will be at the Goblin in October. All being well. All being well. So that's pretty much me. Yes. How's George getting on with his workshop? Are you back in action yet, George? Taking drugs, yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you need the old drugs, all right. Workshop is full of boxes, but I put a plug in a soldering iron earlier. Well, that's a start. That is a start. Not a simple process you're going through, pal. I wouldn't fancy it, but fair play to you. We're looking forward to seeing you getting up and running again. I'm sure you're looking forward to being able to get out into your workshop for a couple of hours escape from the real world. Always helps. Indeed, for those of you who don't know, George's workshop sort of burned down, so which isn't good. Nearly took the gaff with it, George, didn't it? We have radio restorations by Colin here in the chat too. Good evening, Colin. How are you? Hope you're keeping well. Good to have you aboard. Yeah, that's a common story, isn't it? You bought another one because you can't find the 3 that you have in the boxes. Yes, I can see that turned into a hobby in itself, emptying boxes for the next few years. Oh dear, George has been on the white powder and the radios. Indeed. Well, the thing about where the hobby is at the minute and BVWS meetings and so on and so forth, George, is it's fairly cheap this weather to restock. Tony James says, evening from Cornwall, I have an Avo Mark V XMOD in a metal case purchased from a friend who was in the RAF. Very nice. Very nice. The metal case ones are interesting, alright. With a hammerite finish, no doubt. Grey hammerite finish, I think it was. Oh, he's on the mould. Ugh. Yeah, I've seen that white mould and stuff, alright. Likes to permeate on plywood when it gets damp and then dries out. Oh, it was insecticide, woodworm treatment. Oh, lovely. Yeah, I prefer the Proton myself, the spirit-based stuff as well, mind. Them woodworm are becoming bastards though. This warmer winters and it's getting more humid and the woodworm are getting out of hand altogether. Woodworm is a constant battle here. But yeah, there's not much you can do about it. You just try and do your best and keep on top of it. Try and keep the humidity down as low as you can. We have 21 watching with I have to watch myself on the phone to see if I'm in screen or not. Because I say the monitor didn't come on today for some reason. Super. George hasn't been on the radio since last year. You'd be sounding sick of it again, anyway. The studio workshop is here. Good man, Ed. How are you? How's business treating you, Ed? For those of you who don't know, Ed is full-time into the electronics as a business. Good to have you aboard, Ed. Where's the spanner man? Don't know. Probably busy midweek. Probably not a great time to get him on board midweek. You could have a shed full of sawdust by now, Asher. Fuck it. All this stuff is pretty cheap these days anyway. The more these outfits to pop their clogs and the less people are interested. It's easy to replace a collection of shit these days. Which is a sad way of looking at it, but it is true. I don't see the point in getting overly precious about it either. Once you get your bit of fun, that's it. It's all going to end up in the skip one day. There's no point giving it too much thought. Enjoy it for what it is today. It's 17 degrees in here, but it doesn't feel like it. I feel like getting cold, which isn't good. All of those Salinas, mind you, woodworm don't like Russian wood. No, they don't, funny enough. I've never seen woodworm in one of those, yeah? How many Salinas have you got? I think I've got 4. You have 23 of them. Fuck. Good. Ed was a bit under the weather, but he's okay now. He's had a couple of Philips monitors. Good stuff. Good man. It's not easy. $200 hackers in the shed. Fuck off. You do not. 200 hackers. Jeez. That's some amount of radios you've got there, George. And that's only Salinas and hackers. You haven't mentioned nothing else. You're more into the transistor radios, I think, than the Valve stuff. Would I be right in saying that? You're part of that transistor radio gang. Well, fair play to you, White Sapphire. It's always a good idea um, to make some sort of an arrangement if you can. Um, because a lot of people pass away and then this stuff goes gets scattered on the wind. Um, oh, Studio Workshop says he's looking for a battery drill. I'd show you mine. Now, mine didn't cost me anything, but it's still a current model. And for the kind of work you're doing, you know, small light stuff or whatever. Um, this little Hilti. This is a Hilti SF2 A12. Super. Real torquey little meter. Two drill, two spades, two batteries and charger. Probably set you back about 150 quid or so. But this thing's gotten abused. And it's just laughing at it. It's great. The Aldi drill, did you say you had an Aldi drill or a little one? An Aldi one. Yeah, it never got on great with the Aldi drills. I had a little drill, which I bought years ago. And that got abused. Really abused. It got left out in the rain for 3 weeks on a roof. All sorts of horrible things were done to it. And I had it for about 10 years. I drove this shit out of it. Eventually it failed. So I went back to Lidl and I got another one that failed within 3 weeks. So obviously they're not making it as good as they used to. So I got given that, and I have a few Makita ones as well. But they're big and bulky. There'd be no use for what you're doing. That's small and light, handy for small stuff. So that is my recommendation to you. Get yourself a Hilti. And Hilti aren't someone you really think about these days when it comes to stuff like this. But yes, Bizzo, you will not be disappointed. Um, George says he has an arrangement. Cody's will clean him out, or you'll clear him. So right, yeah, whichever one of you pop your clogs. Hopefully the two of you don't get mangled in the car at the same time. Um, the workshop is fine now. It's full of boxes. Boxes back. No space. No, unless we have to go to water. Mine started slipping out of gear on the hammer setting. Use it to death. We'll do some research. What's yours called again, Arjun? It's a Hilti SF2-A12. Stick it up to the camera again. I don't know if it's focusing or not. Might focus a bit not. And it has the best LED illumination I've seen on any handrail, because the LEDs are right down low, shining up. So, you know, I don't get in the way to cast a shadow. So, yeah. I'm happy enough with her now. No, I'm saying that, I just noticed one of the LEDs isn't lighting up. But that's not something that's going to bother me a whole lot. Yeah, nice drill. Works well. There's other ones out there as well. I mean, you wouldn't go far wrong getting yourself a small handheld Milwaukee. I find the Milwaukee stuff is quite tasty as well. Tony James, changing the subject from a drill a minute. What test card generator have you got? Don't have a test card generator as such, but I have several pattern generators. And the one I use, the daily driver, if you like, is the Philips PM 5415, which is very good. It's super duper. All that late generation Philips pattern generators, just nothing could touch them. They really were at the top of their game. So that's what I use most days when I'm doing anything with a television. I also have a Philips PM 5515, 5509, and a 55. What's that one down there? 5508, which is quite old. I don't use that. It's not working great. But yeah, the 5415 will be the one I'd always go to. Sits up here. Doesn't give me any hassle. The only thing, it's a bit slow. The colour coder is a little bit slow on a cold day to start up. And I suspect it's got a lazy crystal or there's an electrolytic a little bit borderline in it. But I am not touching that till it fails because it's a very complicated machine. Aye, George. George will be getting back to YouTube soon enough, he hopes. We have 24 of you. Do you believe that? On a random Tuesday evening. That's not bad going. You say that the woodworm don't like eating the Russian timber. That is certainly true. I've never seen a Selena woodworm in it yet. So there must be something good in there. Or not, as the case may be. As I was saying earlier on, the Panasonic Exaphone has failed. So the power supply that night when I came in, it was working. So what happened first of all was I dug it out of storage, brought it in here, plugged phones into it, didn't work. Left it switched on. That was grand. When I came back in an hour or two later, the day mode light was on, plugged the phones in, working perfect. We had lots of fun here. As anyone who was watching the last live stream will remember. Ringing the different phones, and super. This is great. Turned it off, turned everything off, went into the house, came out the next day, refused to play ball. So it was all right. I'll leave it on for a few hours. I might get it sense again, and it didn't. And then, following that, the power light went out. This was all right. Okay. So I took it apart, got into it, downloaded the service manual online, figured out why the power light wasn't coming on. That works off the 5.6 volt rail, minus 5.6 volt. That was a little bit low. So we went into the power supply, looked at that, found an electrolytic open circuit, replaced that. Power light came back on. However, no go after that. So yeah, I'm trying to figure it out. There's a lot in it. There's a lot to read about, and it's complicated. Needless to say. So it's not good. So I know a chap who knows more about these than I do. I don't really know much about telephones or telephone systems as such, but electronics is electronics. But as you can tell, looking in there, there's a lot of shit in there, and that's 2 boards deep of relays and multi-legged ICs and surface mount and da 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 da. So might be one that I'll hand out. I'll leave it for a week or two. I'll do a little bit more reading on it, but I haven't been able to find anything comprehensive online about it. I've looked up a few of the phone forums, and these are quite common. I mean, these seem to be the go-to machine for vintage television collectors. My one seems to be slightly different to the US version. And then instead of having 2 5.6 volt rails, it has a 5.6 volt rail and a 25 volt rail. So it's slightly different. But Had a quick buzz around with the ASR meter. Didn't find any dodgy caps. But after that, I don't know. It's a bit out of my league, but we'll see. We will see. We'll get a walking again one way or the other, or we'll get another one. Because it would be nice to get the old phones up and running here. Let's get back into the chat. Ed has a 5415 with the RGB card in it. Looks good. Does mine have the RGB card in it? I don't think so, although it's that long since I've seen the back of it. Can't remember. It's sitting on that shelf a good few years now. Works good. I recommend getting yourself one of those cheap RGB. You sync to RGB comes to video converters connected to an OPC. Load any pattern you want. Indeed. Also a broadcast Philips test card RGB and yeah, quite large and only gets used sometimes. That'll be a complicated bit of kit. I'm sure Matt's TV barn on YouTube would love to see that. Very interesting chap. I'm sure some of you have seen his work. I'm guessing I'm just here to unwind Alan Hurst. Been messing with a 3D printer and fly by brain. I can understand that. George hasn't seen his in 6 months. Any news on that black and white valve set with the odd blooming thought? Yeah, the line output transformer has failed on the primary. We removed the EHT. We sort of suspected that's what it was, although we didn't want to admit it until the time came. We removed the overwind. We added a tripler, and we got a bit of action on the screen, but same crap. So that's it. I have a line output transformer for it in a scrap television, which I need to dig out. So that's where we're at with that. So it's going to come off the bench for a week or two, I think, or get shoved to one side out of the way. We'll do something else. So nothing is working out here lately between PABXs and televisions and whatnot, but we do want to get that McMichael going because it is a very nice example. It's a nice nick. It's a nice example. So we'll get it going. We will get it going. It'd be interesting to see could we rewind the line output transformer. There's not that many windings on it. Not that deep. It'd be an interesting experiment. I'm going to start thinking about this. Getting them done is quite expensive because it's so labour intensive. But we should be starting to do this shit ourselves. Yeah. So that's where I'm at with that, Ed. Perhaps as the rest of the fourth dimension of the 3D printer, yeah. I think mine is a Bush A640. Quite disappointed. I was like to get going. Is it the overwind that has failed in that? Because the overwinds were famous for failing in those. So you can remove the overwind and stick a. Well, I mean, you can make up a doubler or a tripler with diodes and caps yourself. You don't need to necessarily get the Thorn bit. I'm using a Thorn tripler. With that, it's just handy that I have it, but I mean, you can make up a little box with a few diodes. EHT diodes are quite cheap on AliExpress now. So, off the anode cap. The zigzag winding, what do you call that? There's a name on it. Herringbone or something. George Christophiel answers. See. Caps could be also issue. I had that fixed gate intercom this week. Water got into one of the chips. I cleaned them with IPA. Got it back working and saved someone €200. Intercom very good. Studio Ed says I have a cheap PBX for my old GPO phones. Do give more details. Give it a go with the line output transformer. I may. Yeah, no, the wave winding. That's what it's called. Wave winding is complex. The Avo coil winder could do it. I know a man who had one of those and he sold it to a fella. I told him I was interested in it and he forgot I said it. And he sold it to a clown who knows nothing about nothing. So that's the end of that. Yeah. Anyway. There's no wave winding on that. It was the earlier EHT overwinds were wave wound, such as this one here. And they were wave wound to cut down on capacitance. You see, that's, I don't know if that's focusing or not, but that's wave wound. Coil high. That's not simple to do. And you have to use cotton covered wire to do it. Otherwise the enamel covered stuff is too slippy and it won't build up, it'll just slip off. So it has to be cotton covered wire. So, which is probably expensive. So you get into all sorts of issues and problems. That's why the few lads that are doing that kind of work, I mean, they charge, but I mean, they don't charge an outrageous amount when you think of the amount of effort that goes into it. And of course, they're using newer wire, better insulation properties, the insulating paper they use, and all that. So, I mean, it's not going to fail again, or it shouldn't anyway. Like the old line output transformers, I mean, it's paper and wax. I mean, they're much like the old paper capacitors. You know, their stuff in them isn't great compared to what's available to us today. Yes, but wave winding is interesting. Well, that's where we're at. 23 viewing, 23 thumbs up. That's quite good. Jim Simpson just arrived. Good evening, Jim. How are you? Hope you're keeping well. So, Ed, what sort of a PBXD are you using? Can't remember the... Oh, there we go. Look. Can't remember the name of it at the moment. Has 6 extension lines on it. I have phones around the house and my workshop can easily call if I need T-top up. If I remember the name, I'll put it in the chat. Okay, no bother, Ed. Sounds good. Yeah, a lot of fun actually, the old phones. So it would be nice to get that Panasonic going again. And it can do all sorts of tricks if you get the right phone to program it and whatnot. Yeah, it's an interesting bit of gear. But that's the problem with this stuff like that, you know, that's sat in a cupboard, switched on for 25 years, and then you unplug it. You're going to have problems with caps and this and that and all sorts of shit. So I don't like being switched on and off. Did I ever try to rewind Transformers? No, I didn't. I've never been stuck to the point where I've had to do one. I've plenty of anytime an old radio's here getting scrapped, I keep the sound output transformer for it, so I never have to get them rewound or that. I always have a spare one, and you'd be quite surprised how tolerant domestic radios or whatever are to substitute sound output transformers. I mean, you can use a 6 volt to 240 volt transformer out of a Walmart if you're really stuck. Mightn't sound all that wonderful, but then again, you mightn't notice either. So yeah, it's not rocket science. Look, what some people would lead you to believe. All right, you want a certain impedance. get the maximum output. But I mean, if you're not concerned with maximum volume or whatever, it's, you know, 10% distortion instead of 5% distortion or whatever. I mean, can you really hear it on medium wave anyway? Probably not. It's not a hi-fi, so yeah. Doesn't matter. You'd be amazed at what you can use for an output transformer. You can call between computers with dial-up cards. Get on the internet via sharing network down the phone line. Interesting. I do know there's like things that people on the internet group phone do for, like CNET is one. Asterix, I believe, is another one. Where people use their vintage phones to ring one another. Get the hairdryer out now. Come on, Ed. This is me you're talking to. The hairdryer was the first piece of equipment that came out to see if we could induce it to go back into day mode again. Because we did note the first time we plugged this in that the day mode light did not illuminate, and then we came back an hour later and the day mode light was illuminated. So we thought exactly that. We thought, right, capacitors are reformed, they're coming up. So when it failed the next day, the hairdryer was the first machine that came out. And no. So it's not that. It's not that. So, I don't know. I might pass it on to a friend of mine who's into this kind of stuff. Because I don't want to fuck it up either. But we'll see. Fitted a cheap push-pull output transformer to substitute the old tricks. I actually watched that video, Ed. Yes, indeed. Yeah, well, that's it. It's not that critical. Okay. I think with the smaller transformer, you won't get. Is it the lower frequency response gets cut off with the smaller the transformer? But I mean, it's not a bass amp. It doesn't matter that much. Probably not. Yeah. So I think it's the smaller the transformer, the frequency response cut off is higher. But doesn't matter. No, not really. Not to my ears, anyway. That's why I think the transformers in larger transistor radios are physically bigger. A part of the reason than, you know, in a pocket radio or whatever. Because you can get away with tiny, teeny weeny transformers. Because the speakers can't really go below one kilohertz or whatever. I think you can even use a transformer from a wall wart power supply as output. I think I'll show you. Oh yeah, well I've done that with battery valve radios. In fact, I have a battery valve radio here, which is fitted with such a transformer, and it works perfect. It could be still one of the chips. Either. I'd be very slow before I'd write off a big lump of silicone, Rob, because I'm not going to be able to replace that. But I don't think so. Chips rarely fail. Funny enough. It was a bit of a crappy video, but wanted to document. No, I thought it was quite good. I think its bass response is better. But then as long as you match with an efficient speaker, you're away. Exactly, yes. It doesn't matter all that much, really, in the grand scheme of things. We're missing a few of our number one people here tonight. We don't have Rowney Mooney. We don't have the Chipmunk. And we don't have Dennis. We hope they're keeping well out there. Tuesday night's probably not a great night to be doing a live stream, but it's the only one available to me at the minute. So that's it. We're rolling up to 11 o'clock, so we're going to pull the plug in the very near future. Just so you're up to speed. Yeah, transformer size doesn't really matter. To a point. But then again, caveats as well. All these things are to a point. Seeing RAM ICs fail from condensation, you never know. Awful to remove there would be on that, yeah. Well, it'll be a hot work. It'll be a hot air station job on that. You wouldn't be doing that with a soldering iron. Condensation shouldn't be an issue in this case, though. It was in here, dehumidifier in here and all that. There's no condensation in here. So I don't think that was a failure mode. But we'll see. What it appears to be, from reading up on it, it appears to be that the unit is all the voltages that need to be coming out of the power supply, according to the manual I'm working off is slightly different to this one because it's an American one I'm working off. This is obviously a European one. There's a 25 volt line on this that isn't on the other one. All the voltages are there, but it appears to be in power failure mode. So the 6 incoming lines, the relays are in power failure mode, so they're going straight through the 6 extension lines. And the rest of which is what happens in a power failure situation. So if the electricity goes off, you still can use the phone. And the rest of the extension lines have a horrible sound on them. Like a sort of not a dial tone, but like a sound, really loud. Well, quite loud. But yeah, but the phones appear to be working. The yellow one plugged in. I can hear the microphone in the headset, so the amplifier and all that kind of stuff is working. So I don't know. But as I say, we'll figure it out. But yeah, it appears to be in power failure mode for some reason. There was it could be maybe one of the RAM chips is fucked. That'd be sad day out. But we'll see. Couldn't believe this week, when I cleaned the chips inside an intercom, started working again. Indeed, Rob, that often is the case. If you see any corrosion on a board like that, always wash it first with IPA, as you say. Dry it off nice and good and try it before you do anything else. Because corrosion causes leakage, and leakage causes upset tummies. Hot air station AliExpress at 59 quid, down from 169. I paid the same for the same one about a month before. That can happen, George, alright. You take the rough with the smooth, George, as you know. You know better than most. So that's where I'm at with the Panasonic EasyPhone 616 anyway. So if there's any telephone PBX experts out there who specialise in Panasonic, I'd like to hear from you. So that's where I'm at with that. Other than that, there's not much more happening. It happens. Didn't know there was an anniversary sale coming up. Yeah. Our Chinese friends can be catchy at times, alright. I must say, AliExpress is still pretty good. Still buy quite a lot of stuff out of them. Not quite as cheap as it was 10 years ago. But then again, what is the days when you used to get stuff in for 20 cents in the post? They were great. I bought a binocular microscope, a 4K camera to make up for it. Well then, not so bad. Right, everybody, boys and girls, thank you all for tuning in. I'm going to pull the plug. I'm getting a bit sleepy here, actually. It's been a long day. So I'm going to go in and try and heat my feet up. It's actually cold enough out here. So I will catch you all in the next one, whenever that will be. And I wish and hope that you will all be well between now and then. whatever you endeavour to do works out for you. Thanks very much for tuning in, everyone. And we will see you in the next one. George, good luck with the workshop. And I hope you get back going again soon. Good night to Alan Hurst, Brum, Adam George, Radio Restoration by Colin, Rob's Radio Channel, The Studio Workshop, White Sapphire, Jim Simpson, Ed, thank you all for tuning in. Tony James, good night, good night, good night, good night. Thanks very everyone. And Patrick Bonacars, the birthday boy, good night to you, sir. Good luck, take care, see you in the next one.